God bless you guys out there tonight. I hope you're doing well. Yeah, just starting a video tonight called Strategy versus Is It All About Me? And tonight I'm trying something different. I'm live on a couple different platforms. I've got another Instagram thing going over here. I don't know if it's going to work or not. Doesn't really matter to me. But anyway, I hope you guys are doing well out there today. I just had some topics I wanted to talk to you about tonight. I was actually out of town this weekend, and if you notice the thumbnail that is on my YouTube channel, it's a picture of me catching a spade fish off of a fishing pier, and this was at the beach, and it made me think when I was out this past weekend, and me and my boys, we were out fishing and having a good time, just trying to enjoy a little bit of downtime and get back into the preaching, get back into work this week. But I noticed one thing out there this weekend, guys, and that was the unity. Now, it may sound a little crazy to you, but I want to explain how I came up with strategy, or is it all about me? And so this weekend when we were out fishing, I just tell you one thing: it was an absolute peace, because every weekend it seems like I'm out. I'm out either preaching, we're working, we're doing something all the time, and so we don't ever really get that time just to go out and just kind of do whatever. And so we were out there. We walked out on this fishing pier, and there was just no distractions at all. I mean, it was absolutely just peaceful. And if you've ever been to the beach and you've been out on a good fishing pier, we were at a place called Cherry Grove, and some of you may have heard of that before. But we were out. Let me turn this thing off here. But we were out on this pier, and man, everything was just so peaceful. It was so calm, and the funny thing about it was, guys, is it's sort of like Christianity. We all are in one place for one purpose. When you walk out onto the fishing pier, you're either there, sightseeing, you're either there fishing, you're there just to kind of sit down on one of the benches and enjoy the air that is coming off the ocean. You kind of just sit back. If you're a Christian, you're probably like me, and you kind of just sit back and you watch the goodness of God. Basically, you see all the the water that's out there. It seems like it's endless. You feel that breeze hitting you, and it seems endless. And you just, it's like you always look out there and you say, man, if God can create something this good, what else could He do? I mean, sometimes it can get discouraging. Going through this life. I was just speaking to one of my family members just a few minutes ago, and I said, it seems like Christianity's just taking a nosedive, because it seems like there's a lot of problems. There's just a lot of chaos in the world, but it seems like the Christians, in my opinion, should be standing up and fighting a little bit more and a little bit harder and a little bit better, being a little bit more consistent than what they really are. And so, it's like when you get out there and you see all this and you're witnessing this peace, you're seeing how good it really is out there. You're sort of saying, man, if God can do this, what all can He do, really? What can He do in your life? What can He do in your work, your jobs, your marriages, your children's life, your relationships? Because when you're out there and you see all this peace and you're just kind of sitting there taking it all in. I mean, let's face it, for some of you guys, you may have a place that you go and it may be peaceful to you. Some people, it may be the mountains. Some people, it may be, it may be, I don't know, to another country, wherever it may be. Sometimes you go to these places to get away. And the reason why is because you've got so many distractions in your life. So as I was sitting out there, I was sitting there thinking about it. I was thinking about, man, we're all in the same place. We're out here. And most people that came to this pier were specifically there for fishing. Like I said, there were some people that would come by and they would just kind of check things out. just kind of, walk for the afternoon, something like that. But for the most part, people were out there fishing. And I got to thinking about it, and I thought, man, this is just like Christianity, I mean, everybody's here. We've all got one thing in mind here, and that is to catch a good fish. And sort of like Christians, when we become born again, we really all are focused on one thing, and that is serving Jesus Christ. That is living a holy life. That is living a life that is pleasing to God. We all have the same goal. Now, there's going to be times that we all do it different ways. I mean, for me, I go out and street preach, and I love going out, passing out gospel tracts. I love passing out Bibles. I love going to crazy events. I love going to where the excitement is there. I love going out into places that are violent. And the reason why is because I can't imagine a life, if just say you were in that atmosphere of drug addiction, pornography, fighting, partying, going to strip clubs, going to bars, whatever it may be. Wouldn't you like for somebody that has the hope of eternal life coming to you in your area? In other words, what I'm trying to say is, wouldn't you be glad if somebody cared enough about you to come to the dark places in this world to try to pull you out of the darkness if they really knew that there was a different way, a different solution, a different, an alternative to the darkness? And truthfully, what kind of Christian would we be if we did not want to do that, if we did not want to love our neighbors ourselves? So as I was sitting there thinking about, well, man, we're all here for the same purpose. Who's going to catch that big fish? I mean, we're all out here on this fishing pier. Everybody's got their own gear. Everybody's got their own carts and fishing rods and different, rigs they got set up, different baits they're using. And so, it's just like when you walk onto the pier, though, you right away notice the locals. You got your local boys in everything you do. When you go to church, some people may go to a church and some people may feel welcome. And then others may say, well, man, when I walked through that door, I felt clicks already. You go and you can kind of tell who's been around and who's kind of, calling the shots and things like that. And as we were sitting there and I was watching and I was thinking, wow, everybody's out here with the same agenda, and that is to catch a good fish, and to, maybe catch a lot of fish and take them home to eat with your family and things, whatever the case may be. But then I got to looking around and how, as the fishing started heating up during the morning hour, we was looking down in the water from real high above the water, we was looking down and we saw these sheephead fish. They were swimming around these, the poles and things. And everybody had something on a rod, everybody was dropping it down, trying to catch this one fish. And I thought, man, do you think that's the only fish out here? And everybody was just, just going for this one fish, And so, I was sitting here thinking about it, man, these guys take this real serious. And so I kind of stepped back and I was looking, and I saw people, I saw the local boys, and they were like looking at each other, giving little signs about swimming and, oh, coming your way, and he was at my area. Now he's coming your way. And I got to thinking, man, these guys right here, the local boys, they don't want the other guys to have any part of this. They want to be the catchers, they want to get the big fish of the day. And so what they'll do is they do, they kind of sneak around, they give their little hand signals, eye signals, and they point certain directions and things like that. And I told my son, I said, man, look at these crazy people, all for a fish. I mean, is this crazy or what? This is crazy. And so, I was sitting there thinking, man, this is like Christianity. When you go into a church, you got your locals, and sometimes they're a little cliquey. And, maybe you're new to Christianity. I'm going to enlighten you on a few things that some Christians, a lot of Christians, most Christians, as a matter of fact, are pretty cliquey. It's my way or the highway. And that's how I came up with the title of this video, Strategy, or Is It All About Me? And so, as I was sitting there watching these locals and stuff, and I told my son, I said, just step back and let them have at it for a little bit, and they killed themselves, man. They were out there, they were throwing every kind of bait, they were throwing every kind of rod, every kind of rig, they could throw everything to try to catch this fish, and he couldn't catch it. Some old man comes walking up and he looks at me and he says, you know what, man? He said, that fish, it didn't get that big for no reason. And he was a local, and I began to talk to him, and he was saying, you know what? He said, I fish this pier every day almost. And he said, I'm a retired guy, and I'm a local. And he said, now I see these guys all the time doing this. And he said, but you know how many times those fish see the same baits come flying past them 100 and 1,000 times a day trying to catch that fish. And he said, that fish is not as dumb as you think he is. And so, like I said, time passed and everybody just kind of moved away from that area. And so we were sitting there fishing, we caught some pretty good fish, caught some pretty decent sized fish, and especially for somebody who don't know what the world they're doing out there, I'm just out there trying to enjoy some time away from the streets and from work and things like that. And we're catching some big stuff. And then all of a sudden, they call this guy's name and they go rushing down to the end. And they're saying, man, this guy's got a fish on. And everybody just left their posts and just went running. And so when they got down there, this joker, he reeled in a fish and it was like this big. It was that little, and I was sitting there thinking, man, y'all get excited over this right here. I mean, man, I hope that when I'm out here this weekend, I hope I catch something that's nice, because when I was up at the front of the pier, I was catching fish almost the same size, and nobody came running to see what I caught, because I wasn't a local. I wasn't yelling out loud. I wasn't screaming out loud. Oh, I caught a fish, I wasn't acting crazy. Here's what I'm going with this, guys. So I sit there, and as I sit there throughout, I spent a lot of time out there. I just sit out there because I was just enjoying that breeze, man. I was just enjoying the view of what God has created. And I was just sitting there, and my son was sitting there, and all of a sudden he kind of turns around, and well, let me back up a little bit. This other guy had come out with a family, and he was from Florida. And guy didn't know how to fish. He's never been fishing on the pier, he didn't know nothing about it. So he was sitting there fishing. He couldn't even bait his hook up. And so he throws out, and all of a sudden his rod just turns completely sideways, and it's just, it was squealing the brakes. So this guy had on a fish, but he didn't know what to do. And so me and Abe, we kind of walked across the pier, and we sit there and we was telling him how to do everything, and like I said, I'm no pro at it, but I knew more than he did, and being observant, we were actually seeing that he was having some issues. And so we didn't try to boss him and tell him and act like we were pros and everything. I told Abe to go, because you're on a pier, you're a long way from the water. This thing's up really high. So Abe drops this net down, and it's a big round net. And so he brings it over here, and he's turning his rod and reel upside down, and we're cranking it like this. And I'm like, Abe's like, no, you got to turn your rod the right way, man. You're not even reeling it in the right way. This guy was a newbie for sure, and so we get this net down, and I grab the end of the guy's line, and I guide the fish into that net, and we pull it up for him. And man, they were people taking pictures. And I mean, it was crazy. It was a really big red drumfish, and he was like, man, I'm keeping that fish, and he got his picture taken with it and stuff. And afterwards, people just kind of faded away. And so. Long story short, I'm just trying to summarize this up for you. We went and ate with the family. We came back later that night. We started fishing again, and we saw this Oriental man, and I'm trying to keep this short. We saw this Oriental man in fishing. He had set up like 5 rods. Well, he wasn't really paying attention. He had stuff going on everywhere, just trying to catch a fish. So Abe's sitting here watching his stuff. Well, Abe sees his rod take off, and all of a sudden, Abe's like, hey, sir, you got to get your rod, you got a fish on, but come to find out it was a black drum, and it was a big fish. And and it was getting all caught up into the pilings and all the wood and the structures of the fishing pier. And so Abe, again, the guy's like, hey, could you get my net for me? So Abe runs and grabs his net and he lowers it down. And Abe's sitting here just kind of guiding this net as the current's just ripping. And so the net's blowing all over the place, and Abe's guiding that net back and forth. And all of a sudden, this guy's sitting here is like, he's just pulling and pulling, and he's trying to get this fish loose because it was getting tangled up. And all of a sudden, it just popped, and Abe caught the fish. Long way down now, and pulls the guy's fish up, and he says, wow, man, this is great. He said, man, thank you, thank you. Now, you know, you may be asking, why am I talking about fishing on a pier? And what does this got to do with ministry? What does this got to do with Christianity? Guys, let me tell you something. When I walked out on the fishing pier, I had one objective. One, that was to catch a fish, you know, because I don't get to go down there very often. I was there to catch a fish. But, you know, when I got there, I had a peace about just enjoying the day. And little did I know, it was not going to be my day to catch the fish, but it was going to be my day to be an example. And so you can have a strategy, you can have a plan, or you can always think about yourself. You can do for yourself. You can live for yourself. You can only think about yourself. You know, you just want to hog everything, in other words. And so, you know, as the nighttime fell and I was just sitting there watching everybody, and I was realizing how well people got along on that pier. Now, you got to understand, most of these people on this fishing pier were probably not even saved. Some of them, I'm sure, could have been, but probably there was a lot that probably was not. But they were all there hoping for the same thing. They were looking to catch a fish. You know, they were looking to take home a ton of fish for their families, maybe. You know, I don't know what their situation was, but anyway, when we got there, you know, that was the goal. And as I watched throughout the day and the week, you know, I mean the weekend, you know, I was sitting there thinking, man, look how peaceful everybody's getting along. Look how peaceful it is out here. And the reason why is because everybody knew what they came for. And it was so neat to see everybody on that fishing pier working together to do one thing, and that was to catch fish. And I was thinking, man, Jesus, when you speak in parables, you almost give us the same vision. You know, why can't we go out? Because he said, follow me, and I will make you fisher of men. You know, and I was thinking, if the body, Lord, got along as much as all of these people out here that had one thing on their mind, and that was fishing. I'd like to ask you guys tonight, before I get any further, do you have a plan? Do you have a strategy? Or are you just constantly thinking about yourself? Because, see, if we would have been thinking about ourselves that day, if Abe would have been thinking about himself, he would have been paying attention to everybody else's stuff. But little did I know, we were there to help people. Here's how. That day, the black man from Florida caught that big red drum. It's a huge fish. And so, you know, he got to keep it, and you know, that night, as I was fishing again, I turned around and I saw him coming on the pier. Well, he had some people with him. He had some children with him. And so they came back out and they set up in the same spot and they tried to fish again. Well, the guy who caught the big fish, he didn't really fish. He gave his rod to a young black kid. And when I started watching this guy, he started backing up as the young black kid started taking the fishing rod and started fishing. The older black man, the adult, had his phone out videoing him. And I was thinking, well, man, that's good for you to have done that, because he got to experience catching that big fish. He got to experience having that few minutes of just total rush. That's just what he came for. And he came and he brought somebody else with him this time. And I thought, man, this is just like Christianity. I mean, do we not want to be somebody with a strategy? Strategy says it's a grand design. It's the game plan. It's a plan of action. It's a policy. It's a proposed action. It's a scheme. It's a blueprint. You know, if there was ever a way to do things, God put it down in his scriptures over 2,000 years ago. He gave us a blueprint from the very beginning and said, this is the way I want you to do things. I don't want you to do what you want to do. That's why he said there's a way that seems right unto a man, but the end thereof are the ways of death. Man plans his own ways, but God has to direct the steps. You know, God has to be the front runner. And I was sitting here watching all these people, you know, and I thought, man, this guy brought some young person back now because he wanted that young man to experience everything that he just got to experience that few hours prior to that. He wanted him to be a part of that, you know, and little did I know, you know, I was sitting here thinking, and Abe and Nolan said, you know, Nolan brought it to my attention. He said, well, that man probably would have never brought that young man back if you guys wouldn't have been there to make the catch for him in the first place. Because you helped him, he got to experience what he came for. And because he got what he came for, he left and he brought somebody back. But they brought several people back. You know, and I got to thinking, man, is this like Christianity should be? Is because we get to experience the goodness of God, the mercy of God, the grace of God, and we get to experience, you know, we get to experience eternal life. You know, we get our address written down in heaven. You know, we're looking for an eternal destination where there's no more sickness, there's no more dying, there's no more pain, there's no more suffering. But I was sitting here watching. I was sitting here thinking, man, I did not know that we were going to be here simply to help all of these people fulfill what they wanted to do that day. Because if we had not have been there at that perfect time, the perfect place, we wouldn't have been able to help them. And little by little, people started noticing us. And I had this hat on, as a matter of fact, Jesus. And then people started saying, hey, man, I like your hat. I mean, I had more compliments on my hat than anything. People didn't say, oh, man, what are you catching today? They were like, hey, bro, I love your hat. You know, and so it's just like when you wear this Jesus hat, man, it's just a conversation starter everywhere you go. Because, see, I have a plan. I have a strategy. I have an approach. I have a blueprint. And so while I'm there waiting to catch the fish, Jesus was reminding me, you are not going to catch the physical fish, but you're going to catch other people. I'm going to use you, and I'm going to use your hat with my name written on it to show people that I'm real, that I can help, that I can show them kindness, that I can show them love, that I can show them something. I didn't have to be on a street corner with my banner. He was working in a different way, you know, and so I was sitting here looking at these things, you know, and I was thinking about, man, when I came this morning, it was about me. I was wanting to catch that fish, you know, my sons were wanting to catch that fish. But as I was there and God opened up my eyes and he started revealing to me the plan, the blueprint, the strategy, I was thinking, man, this is crazy. And the funny thing about it was I was enjoying it. I was having a good time while all this thing was happening. You know, and so I was sitting here thinking about, man, why is Christians such a pain to get along with, you know? Why is it that we don't want to help each other no more? You know, not unless you want to be in my group. If you want to be in my group, I'll help you. I'll pay your way. I love you. I'll even talk about it. I'll even put up YouTube videos of you. But boy, if you don't want to be in somebody's clique, you know, if you don't want to be a part of their it's about me time, you don't last very long. And you know, sometimes you get discouraged. And if that's you tonight, and if you're discouraged and you say, well, it seems like I just don't fit in over a lot of places. It seems like I just don't, you know, a lot of people don't call me. They don't invite me like they used to. Well, maybe God's trying to show you something, man. Maybe God's trying to show you the blueprint. He's trying to show you the strategy. He's trying to show you where he needs you. He's trying to show you who he needs you to help. Because little do you know, sometimes we forget that when we help others, others are going to start making a change too. You see how it all works, guys? You know, how many times have you ever heard, well, just be a light in your community, and when your community gets fired up, you're going to be a light in your state, and when your state gets fired up, you're going to be a light in your country, and your country's fired up, and you're going to be a light in this whole world. But a lot of people forget about the blueprint. They forget about the strategy. It's all about me. It's all about, well, what am I going to get? Well, Lord, what am I going to do? What's happening here? But meanwhile, we could still see the locals. And they were like, man, this guy, you could hear the locals if you get close enough to them. They'd say, man, I've been fishing here all day. This guy walks up and you don't even know how to use a rod and reel. And he catches a fish like the first 2 minutes. They wasn't grateful that these guys were having a good time too. They were just saying, oh, I can't believe it, man. I've been here all day long. You know why? It's because it was all about them. It was all about them. Hey, I came there to do the same thing. I came there to catch a fish. You know what? But God used us in a different way. And it was so crazy because I actually enjoyed that more. You know what I mean? I actually enjoyed it more, just being out there helping people and seeing them put a smile on their face. And then little did I know they were going to bring their children. They were going to bring more people and more people, and meanwhile, they were looking at the hat. Jesus. It was just like when you looked at the locals, they were saying, you're on my turf today. You're on my turf. And then I was looking around, and you know what I seen, guys? I seen a bunch of Mennonite girls come walking by. They had their head coverings on. They had their long dresses on. Oh, they were modest. They were decked out like some, people want to go overboard with. They had it all, man. They had it all. This dresses down to their ankles. They had their head coverings on. Beautiful ladies, man, just looking like they were just so peaceful. They were just having a good time. So my son, Abe, he wanted to walk down to the end of the fishing pier, and he was down there and with his other brother. They were taking a picture of things. And the Mennonite ladies come down to the end of the pier, and they got up underneath this gazebo area. And you know what they did? They didn't start praying. They wasn't there witnessing. They reached into their pockets and had vapes. They were sucking on vapes. These ladies with head coverings and dresses down to their ankles were sitting there smoking and using vapes. So my son comes walking back, and he said, did you see those Mennonite ladies? And I said, yeah. I mean, good to see some other believers out here. And he said, you won't believe it, but I got a picture of them. They're sitting there sucking on vapes. They're smoking. And I thought, wow. Ain't that something that you've got the normal so-called heathen out there getting along, helping one another. They're out there just minding their own business or whatever. And then you got these ladies that are so spiritual. They come walking down with those ankle-length skirts on. They had their head covers on with their little bobby pins in the back, They had it all down pat. And they were sucking on vapes at the end of the pier. Now... guys, I want you to really take a look at your life. And I want you to ask yourself tonight, do you have a strategy? Do you know why you even exist? You don't exist to be somebody else's property. You don't exist to be bossed around. You don't exist to be bullied. You don't exist to be lesser than this person. I know we have scriptures in the Bible that talks about that the man will be the one who leads, but I think this day and time, the men are getting a little too big for their pants. They're acting like that's all the scripture says, but it don't stop there. It talks about the man, he will love his wife as Jesus loved the church. He'd lay down his life for that woman. There's got to be a 50-50 relationship. And I'm dealing with that a lot here lately on a lot of different issues in my own home. Not my wife. It's just other people around us, But I'm seeing this thing taking place in ministries. I see this stuff happening with other brothers and sisters. I see these things happening all the time. And it's always, well, this is what the woman should do, and we never really hear the man being addressed, because their strategy is you submit unto me, I tell you what to do as I say, don't question me. Guys, let me just tell you something. That's not the blueprint. That's not the strategy that God has. Yes, wives are to be submissive, but men's supposed to love their wives. They're supposed to gain that trust. They're supposed to gain that respect. You know, you don't just get it just because you're a man. You know, God said you ought to love her as you love the church. You know, you ought to be there. You ought to support them. You ought to do things. You ought to teach them. You ought to pray for them. You ought to, you know, etc. You get the point. But it's just like now, you know, when I saw these ladies coming down the boardwalk or the pier, I was thinking, man, you know what? This is good. You know, we're helping people today. Everybody's seeing the Jesus hat. You know, we're talking, we're getting in conversations. Here comes these Mennonites. They're going to bring in some more, maybe some gospel tracks. What I don't know. And what they do, they pulled out vapes. They're sucking on smoke. Guys, I want to tell you tonight that just because you see somebody who may look spiritual, don't let it fool you. Just because you may see a certain street preaching group out there and they posting a lot on social media, don't let it fool you. You know, there's so many of those people right now that are living in my area. They're living here, literally. I know them, you know, and their homes are falling apart. Everything's falling apart, but praise God, they're posting on the internet. Everything's looking golden. It's looking great. It's fine and dandy. But meanwhile, back at the ranch, all hell's falling apart. It's breaking loose. It's total corrupt. It's corruption. But praise God, we're Christians. There's a lot of people that are focusing on them and they don't have a strategy. They don't know the program. They don't know the procedure. They don't have a schedule. They don't have the tactics. They don't have a policy. They don't have a plan of action. You know, they just run from one place to the other. Have you guys ever seen that? It's like your fellowship's going good. Somebody has a disagreement with you. Well, on to the next place, you know. You guys are rebellious. You won't listen. You know, you guys are this. You guys are that, you know. So why am I saying that? You know, I was thinking, man, if I was about myself this past weekend out there at the fishing pier, and this may sound a little crazy, but if I would have been just focused on myself and didn't care what everybody else, you know, when I saw these people reeling up fish that I wanted to catch, you know, they were reeling in the big boys, you know, and I didn't get that. But you know what? I was so happy to go over there and help them and say, man, that's awesome, man. I mean, I'm glad you caught that. I mean, I'm sure that's what you wanted, man. I'd love to caught something like that. It was great, you know. And then I saw them bringing other people back. I want to ask you the question tonight. Is your life as a Christian just like I was to that guy, to where we helped him enough and we let him experience the goodness, the fun, the action out there? You know, we let him experience what he came for. And because it was so good, he brought other people back. He brought people to experience what he got to experience. Is that like it? Is that the way your life is as a Christian? You know, I love it, you know, to see people actually come and want to do what we do. You know, and I think it's neat that people call us and they say, look, man, I've seen the videos, I've seen the teachings, I've seen all the preaching. I want to do what you guys do. They didn't say they wanted to be like me. They said, I want to do what you guys do. And what we do is we lift up the name of Jesus. The Bible says we're a city set on the hill to give light to all that may see, so that when they see our good works, they don't glorify us. It says they glorify our Father, which is in heaven, which is Jesus. So everything we're supposed to be doing is to be what? Is it promoting a group, a church, a fellowship? No. We're supposed to be pointing people to Jesus. We have a plan of action. We have a policy. We have a blueprint. We have a program, a procedure. We have the master plan. We have the grand design. We're here to shine the light to Jesus. Ask yourself that tonight, people. If you're watching this or will be watching this, are you concerned about what people see in you? When people see you, what do they see? Do they see you just want to talk about your work all the time, talk about, you know, your drugs, talk about your shortcomings, all the sin in your life, all the crap you're dealing with? Or when they see you, did they get a fresh word, man? I mean, do they look at you and say, man, I want to be like that guy right there, man. I want to have that peace in my life. You know, when I walked out on that fishing pier, I had a peace. You know, I was there. I was excited, man. You know, and little did I know what God was going to allow me and my family to do out there. We didn't have no clue we were going to be used as sort of like the helpers of the day. And so the question I want to ask you guys tonight is do you have a strategy in your own life, in your home life, your with your wife, with your husband, with your family, your friends, with your ministry? Do you have a strategy, or are you just kind of helping somebody else out, or you just kind of running to the next conference, if you will? It seems like that's what everybody's good at. People want to run to a next conference, and the reason why they keep running to these meetings and stuff is because they can't live without one another. It's like if you don't got somebody holding your hand and putting a passy in your mouth, you just don't seem to work anymore. As if there's not a lot of stuff to be going on. Doing out here, so it amazes me so much that there's so much to be done. These big events, I've never seen Memorial Weekend. They're having all these events all across the world, and people's playing conference, people's having meetings, people's having youth rallies, and I'm thinking, man, the whole world's dying and going to hell, and we want to meet together again. We want to look at each other and keep preaching to each other. That shows me somebody that don't have a strategy. They're still trying to figure this thing out, and they're trying to help each other. They're holding each other's hands. They're hoaxing, I'm praying for you. Pray for me. Pray for me. I'll pray for you. We're doing this over and over and over because we really are not confident in who we are. We don't really have the approach. We don't have the tactics. We don't have the master plan. We don't have the grand design. We don't even know what the blueprint is. That's why we got to keep fellowshipping one with another. And I love it. People start saying, well, don't forsake the fellowship with the other people. Don't stay out of church. It's funny. He said, don't forsake the assembling together. He said, where 2 or 3 are gathered in my name, there I am in the midst. He didn't say where 500 are. He didn't say come to church every Sunday and I'll be there. He said where 2 or 3 are gathered in my name, there I am. And we seem like we got to go to church. We got to pay all this money. We got to do all these good deeds, or we just don't seem to fit in. Me personally, I say keep it. Keep that mess, because I don't want it. I want to go out there and to do exactly what the blueprint says. I want to have a strategy. So what's the whole take for tonight, guys? The whole take is this. Is it always about you? When you show up to a place, are you observant? I know when Abe was looking around this past weekend, there was 3 things that I noticed. He was observant. He was looking around, seeing everything that was going on. He was looking to see what other people was doing, what they were using, had their tactics. He was being very watchful on a lot of things. He was being observant. And then the next thing, after he saw what was going on, he spoke up. Number 1 was being observant. Number 2, he started speaking up. Hey, your ride's going crazy. You got a fish over here. Well, you better look out. I'll get your net. So he saw what was happening, and then he started speaking out. And number 3, he started showing action. He didn't just speak out and say, hey, man, your ride's fixing to go over the pier. He went and saved the day for these people. Let me ask you, as a Christian to another Christian tonight, are you being observant out there in your surroundings, in your home life? Are you being observant with your children? Are you being observant with your wife and your husband? Are you willing to speak up when you see things happening? Our sons and daughters are being snatched away by the devil himself. Our wives and our husbands are being snatched away. We're not being observant. And then when we see the things, we're not speaking up. It's like everybody don't want to speak up. As you speak up, you're going to get scalded. I say, scratch that. You need to be out there fighting. You get out there get out there and kick some dirt in the devil's face. We're not gullible Christians. We're supposed to be bold as a lion. We're supposed to be standing firm. And when you observe and you speak up, do you put things in action? Are you there to stand in the gap? Are you there to make a difference in somebody's life besides yours? Are you there to say, you know what? I know what to do here. I was watching, I was speaking up, and now I'm going to help. I'm going to do something. I seen a post that somebody had posted, and I just seen it today, and I want to share it with you before I get off of here. This is not my post. This is a post that I seen, And it says an open letter to the evangelical church. It says, I am a follower of Jesus, but not because of you. You see, I grew up within the four walls. My family never missed a Sunday. I wore the long dresses and never cut my hair. I made sure to always smile and never complain. I stayed away from outsiders. I sheltered myself from any hint of the world. Boy, is this starting to ring a bell with any Christians out there right now? It says, but by the time I reached adulthood, drowning under the crushing weight of the fear-based teaching you placed upon me, I realized that I didn't even know who Jesus was. You guys ever been a part of a church or a movement like that to where you didn't know who Jesus was, but you knew how to dress? I mean, they talked and barked on that about it, enough. I mean, they talked about your apparel. They talked about the shirts that you could wear and the shoes that you could wear and the hair that you could or could not cut. It said, but you taught me that only real Christians practice courtship and save their first kiss for marriage. Only real Christians wore head coverings and made sure their knees and shoulders were never exposed. Now, when I'm telling you this, again, there's some things I agree with, some things I don't. But I looked at this and it says, only real Christians avoided rock music and tattoos. Only real Christians read their Bibles every single day and handed out gospel tracts 3 times a week. Only real Christians never get divorced. You taught me all about God's wrath, how if I stepped a toe out of line, he would be quick to punish me. Severe illness, rape, financial ruin. And now, years later, after trying and then failing to follow all your rules, almost leading me to lose my faith entirely, I'm hearing countless others asking the same questions I once wrestled with, such as, why are our marriages failing despite practicing fail-proof courtship? Why are 1 in 4 of us sexually abused despite your modesty messages? Why do you continue to protect the abusers in our lives while shunning us who dare being evil actions, while shunning us who dare bring evil actions out to light? Why are we still plagued with chronic illness despite saying countless prayers? Why do we often experience far less love in the body of Christ than in the non-believing community around us? Your once faithful members are crying out, what about us? What now? You taught us legalistic rules instead of the gospel. You taught us bondage instead of freedom. You sheltered us from every word Jesus commands his followers to go out into the world. By drilling fear into our minds, you didn't point us to Jesus. No, the tragedy, dear church, is not that people are leaving the church in droves. The real tragedy is by starving your people of the true message of the gospel. You have nearly fatally wounded your once most devoted followers, then left us with no one to turn to because we're told Jesus doesn't want to see our mess. The true gospel message must include broken people. But you were too concerned about appearances to allow people to be broken. You were too concerned about practicing or protecting wolves that you forget about defending your sheep. But thankfully, even we disowned us. Even when you disowned us, Jesus did not. Even when you shunned me, Jesus did not. When you told me that because of my history of sexual abuse, I was chewed up into I was a chewed up piece of gum and no man would want me, Jesus told me that my worth was not defined by my sexual history. When you told me that my chronic illness was a result of not forgiving my abuser, Jesus comforted me and told me that my body having a natural reaction to abuse was not a sin. When you told me that I was the cause of a man's lust, Jesus told me that I was not responsible for that guy. This thing keeps going on and on and on and on and on. And then it says down here, it says, but they were not looking for hope on the outside of your four walls. But because they because they went for a hope outside of your four walls, and they finally found Jesus. And this was written by a name like Emily Anderson or something. Guys, I want you to realize, have you ever heard of such just garbage as this right here? And I think if you look at what's happening today, oh, how you doing out there, brother? If you look at what's happening out there today, we're teaching more about apparel. We're teaching more about rules. We're teaching more about legalism. We're talking about all these things. And man, they know how to do it. Just like when I saw these Mennonites come walking down the boardwalk, little did I know they were not there to be a witness. They were walking to the bottom and they were smoking vapes. Guys, I'm here to tell you that this letter right here, it just really struck me. Like I said, some of it I agree with and some of it I don't, because I do believe in modesty and stuff. But I believe this stuff is being harped on so much to where we have forgotten the whole agenda. We've forgotten the strategy. We've forgotten the game plan. We've forgotten the blueprint. You see, nowadays, if you look at all the groups, it's about who they are, what they do. It's not about what they preach. It's not about what they can give you, because it's all about them. And people says, oh, no, that's not true, brother. That's not true. We preach the gospel too. What do you mean too? It's all you should be doing. It should never be about you. It shouldn't be about your ministry. It shouldn't be about all the clothes you wear. I believe in a woman ought to wear a modest apparel. I believe a man ought to wear modest apparel as well. I hear about all these messages about women, but I never hear about them about men. And it's so funny that the men always talk about, well, the men's supposed to be the leaders, where the men's supposed to be calling all the shots. Well, why ain't we hearing about the gospel? Why ain't we hearing about the preaching? Why ain't we hearing about all these things? We hear about modesty. We hear about, the woman's the weaker vessel. The woman's the helpmeet. The woman's this, the woman's this, the woman's that. We don't have no strategy. These people don't have strategies. It's because it's all about them. They don't have a tactic. They don't have an approach. They don't have a schedule. They don't have a proposed action. They don't have a blueprint. They don't have a policy or a plan. They have rules. So what am I speaking about tonight? I'm speaking about this. This past weekend when we went out of town, we got to see what it's like to be a help to other people who are looking for the same thing that we're looking for. And the funny thing about it is, when we really reached out to help them, instead of thinking about, oh, I'm going to do this today. This is why I came here. I wanted to do this weekend. Instead of thinking it was all about me and doing what I wanted to do, we started stretching our net. We started helping other people. And because we helped other people, they started helping other people. And I told my boys, I said, is this not great? Is this not the most beautiful thing I've ever seen? We're helping people, and they're going and getting other people to come back. Is that not the way the church is supposed to be today? We'd rather harp on pants and head coverings and this and that and all this other stuff when people don't even know Jesus anymore. People don't even know the gospel. I mean, it's just like I said the other day. I was at a gay pride event up in Huntersville, North Carolina, and I got out there, and I told Nolan, I said, what would be good when we got out here? I said, it's just to see some other Christians, maybe one, maybe two. If we're lucky, we'll see 3 or 4. We got out there and we saw nobody. We didn't see anybody. And I said, man, is it just me, or is it like every event we go to now, we're seeing nobody show up? People don't have a strategy anymore. It's all about them. And it's like, we were sitting there, and these sodomites had come up to us, and they said, oh, there you are again. There he is again. This gay pride wouldn't be the same without you guys. And I said, thank you for confirming. Thank you for letting me know that I need to be consistent, because we're the only ones that are coming to your neck of the woods. We're the only ones that are calling your sin out. We're the only ones that's rebuking you, heathen. You guys are everywhere. You guys are everywhere. I see you here. I see you there. It wouldn't be the same without you. And I thought, that's exactly right. God is going to be hard on you on Judgment Day, because he brought the same person to you week in and out, day in and day out, week and month and year after year. He's bringing the same preacher to your neck of the woods to try to tell you about the goodness and severity of God. What about it, people? What about it? Do you have a strategy? Do you have a plan? Do you know the blueprint? Or is it all about you? Truth being told, Brother Stan. God bless Stan. Half the places we go, well, basically all the places that we go, if it wasn't for this brother right here, I don't know how we would even get there. It's so funny how his name popped up. God he uses people to work on other people, just like he used us this weekend to get other people to bring other people to experience what we wanted to experience. My question to you today, and I'm going to get out of here, is when you really think about your life right now, when you think about the goodness of God that he's shown you, the mercy, the long suffering, the patience, do you just think about yourself? Or are you already planning like this week? This week, we are already set. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. We're already set to go and preach at these festivals for the 4th of July. We've already got them numbered. We've already got them laid out. We're ready to go. We have a plan. We have a blueprint. We got a strategy. Guys, are you going to get involved? How many of you are going to a street corner and when you look around, all you see is yourself? It's like looking in the mirror when you wake up. There's nobody else but you. Guys, let me tell you something. If you will be faithful, God will show you what he showed me this weekend. If you will work in other people's lives and quit thinking about yourself, God will show them people liberty, freedom, and they will go get other people and they will come. Just like this weekend, when we showed people the goodness, hey, we were there to do the same thing, but little did we know we were there to help them. And by helping them, they brought others to see Jesus. That's really all I got for you tonight, guys. Are you concerned at all that we're looking around and we're not seeing a lot of people? Are we getting to the place to where we're looking around and we're like this letter said, you've taught me all about apparel. You've taught me all about the rules of the church. You've taught me all about divorce. You've taught me all about what I can say and what I can't say, who I can and can't talk to. You've taught me all about what style of hair I can have, what kind of clothes, what colors, how long, how short. You've taught me all that, but I really don't know Jesus. I really don't know God. I really don't know the Word. I don't even know Him. I don't know how to talk to Him. I don't know how to reach out to Him. I don't know how to experience the love, the forgiveness, the mercy. I mean, I got the rules down pat. But because I don't have Jesus, I don't want the rules. I don't want the fellowship. I don't want all the legalism. I don't want these things. Man, it's hot. When people see you today, what are they going to see? Are they going to see somebody who has a plan? When I walk out this week to the 4th of July events, all the ones that we can go to, I want people to look at me and say, man, he has a plan. Oh, I'm going to follow him because he knows exactly where he's going. He knows exactly who I need to reach out to. He knows the God that can save my soul. He knows about the mercy and forgiveness and the freedom and the liberty. He knows. And I want that. And not only will I get to experience, but I'm going to bring everybody else with me too. I'm going to go back and I'm going to get people. I'm going to get more and more and more. And they're going to come to find out about this man named Jesus. They're going to want to know about Jesus. But it starts with you, my friend. It starts with you. Do you have a strategy? Do you have a blueprint? Do you know where you're going in life? Or is it just about another set of rules? I mean, what is it, people? What's it going to take? One day I'll tell you there's going to be a judgment day, and I'll tell you, man, God is going to say, man, you knew how to do everything. You knew how to dress. You knew how to, you walk the walk and stuff. But man, you didn't know your words. You wasn't a bit worried about me coming. You wasn't worried about my judgment. You wasn't worried about my wrath and my anger and my hatred because of your sin and rebellion and your laziness. Don't be like that person that says, I'm a follower of Jesus, and then just be full of religion. Be like this person that says, I'm a follower of Jesus, but not because of you. You need to be a follower of Jesus because he loved you and he died for you. He shed his blood for you. And if you're ready, if you've repented, you've been born again, he's going to come back for you. And your address will be written down in heaven. But guys, don't miss the boat because of all these people who look like they have a strategy, but it's all about them. It's all about them. They don't have no strategy. They don't know the end. They don't have a tactics. They don't have the program, the procedure, the approach, the plan of action. They don't have that. They don't have the policy. Make sure you do, guys, and it'll only be found in the Word of God. It'll only be found. So anyway, guys, I hope this helps somebody out there tonight. God bless you guys for watching. If you think this video will help somebody out there, share it with somebody. Let somebody know. Maybe this will help somebody see that, man, we got to have a strategy. We got to start having a game plan. Jesus said, without a vision, my people's going to perish. Without a vision, you're not going to make it, guys. Get your eyes fixed on Jesus before it's too late. I'm telling you, he's coming back soon. You got to be ready. I'm going to get out of here, and I guess we'll see you guys in the next video. Hey, anybody wanting to come preach with us this weekend, get in touch with us. We're going to be doing a lot of 4th of July outreaches. Make sure if you want to get in touch with us, reach out to me through this email. Let me put my email up here somewhere. Let's see, email. Where's my email at? This is my email right here. You can reach out to me by this email right here, guys. And if you want to go preach with us this week, we're going to be going out all week, every day, all the way until through the weekend. So we'll be working all day on our daily jobs and stuff like that. And then we'll be hitting the streets at nighttime. Look us up on Instagram too. Everything's the Justified Witness. We have an Instagram too. It shows all the videos, the posts, the pictures, where we're at and stuff like that. So, if you got Instagram, make sure you subscribe to us, friend, whatever it is. I don't know what all that stuff is. I just try to post stuff. And so, anyway, God bless you guys out there. I hope you're doing well this week and this weekend, and hope you have a great week, upcoming week. Stay cool out there. It's super hot here in North Carolina. But make sure you're in the Word. Make sure you're born again. If you're not, you need to be saved. You need to be born again, because if not, none of this applies to you. Hellfire is going to be your home. I hate to say that, but it's reality. We want you to be born again. We want to see you in the kingdom of heaven. God bless you guys. I'll see you in the next video.